Good morning. Yeah, it's election day. This is the day we find out who's going to be our next president, or should find out, probably drag on for a couple of days. Litigation, all kinds of things. But that's the complexity of that we brought this country into. You know, paper ballots were so simple. You got a ballot, you filled it out, you're the one that looked at it and see if it was right. You stuck it in the ballot box was taken and it was opened, and then they were counted. Simplicity. Several countries in Europe tried all the other methods of voting, and they went back to paper ballots. They finally realized that more complex is not always better. More newer or innovative the idea doesn't necessarily mean that it's a better idea. I can relate to you how many times I've seen people try to use new equipment and take 15, 20 minutes to do what the old equipment could do in 3 or 4 minutes. And it was just really ridiculous. Gadgets like certain kinds of potato peeler, especially vegetables and things that pertain to kitchen and preparing things. And you think, my God, it took longer to set up than it would have to peel that potato. So it's really, we've got to learn that new is not better always. You know, sometimes the old way it works just fine. We don't need to fix it. You know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And paper ballots weren't broke, and you didn't need to fix them. And so anyway, what I want to talk to you about today is the fact that a lot of people are afraid today. They're afraid that our country is going to be changed, and it very well could. We're not talking about a normal election, 50 or 100 years ago, where the majority of the population really cared about this country, and they were Americans first. And that's not true anymore. We have a lot of people who are globalists. They do business all over the world, and they have a globalist idea. You know, one of the things I've learned in life is the closer you keep things to the vest, the better control you have of them. And the further you expand it, the worse it gets. I can remember that I used to do a big bank corporation. I used to do a lot of their banks. And they decided that they were going to run everything from the central office up north, and including setting the thermometers. And well, if you know Texas weather, you know that ain't smart. 30 minutes, an hour can make all the difference in the world in Texas. And so here were people in those banks that I would go wash the windows at, and I would walk in, and they were complaining about the heat in the building or how cold it was in the building. And they couldn't do a thing about it because it was all done from a central office. Yeah, it's kind of like that with the American government. We let them take over our lives, every bit, our educational system, our law enforcement. And they did it in a very sneaky way. They gave them money, and then they told them how they were going to run their organization. We do that. And for a few bucks more, we sell ourselves out. And maybe it's time, and I think Trump is trying to get us to understand that. Maybe it's time that we don't do that. Then maybe it's time we play it closer to the vest. Maybe it's time that the independent school districts be exactly that, independent. That each individual district knows what it needs to educate its children for what that community needs. And a lot of times they're educating them for stuff they don't have any need for. So anyway, maybe it's time we get back to the basics. Reading, arithmetic, grammar, whatever. Also, computers are not anything mysterious. They're just a big file cabinet. That's what a guy told me. First computer I ever bought, $2,300. And the telephone I'm recording this on has more power than that computer had. So I like technology. I believe it's a good thing. I got a pacemaker, and that's technology. And I thank the Lord for that. And I think that's one of the miracles. When God said, greater miracles than this ye shall do in my name, that pacemaker was one of those miracles. He gave the knowledge to an individual to create it. He gave the skill to the surgeon who put it in me. And I thank the Lord for that. And I thank the doctors and the technician who created it. But had it not been for what God did in giving those people the skills, I wouldn't be standing here in front of you in such good shape. And I feel good. I feel real good. It's been 4 years, and they put that thing in me, and I was ticking like that clock behind me. It doesn't tick; it's electronic. So anyway, what I want to say is, however this election turns out, we Christians need not fear. The Bible says, I looked it up to make sure, 365 times the Bible mentions do not fear or fear not or something similar. 365. Isn't it a coincidence? One for each day. Don't fear this day. Do not fear this day. Do not fear what can happen to you in this day. Do not fear. Do not fear. And if we truly believe what Christ said, if we believe that he is who he said he was, and that he can do what he said he could do, then we do not fear. So that's all I got to do. That's all I got today on the